much, Adrian. It is my honor and my pleasure to be a part of this discussion. It is a topic that I hold very close to my heart. Just as a brief introduction, I've been in media and marketing and technology for about 20 years now. I started with what was then called New Media, and now it is called Web2. And started with Star TV in India, worked with Fox, Disney, launched the National Geographic channels, part of portfolio in India and in Southeast Asia in my television job. And then very early on, I moved from television to digital. And that time, that was the New Media. And, I started helping clients with their digital marketing strategies. And as the social media scenario changed, as the digital marketing scenario changed, we kept upskilling and kept expanding the team to provide more and more solutions. And now, again, I've looking at the Web3 and blockchain projects from Web3preneur and trying and help all the projects grow and trying to create a platform for them to be able to find new avenues of growth. So that has been my journey. And throughout, I have seen that in fields of technology, especially in STEM technologies and now the emerging future technologies, we need to be very, very careful of making sure that we get more and more gender diversity and equality in. Because as we have seen in some of the historical industries, the representation can be low, and that always leads to an imbalance in growth, which is not good for anybody as a whole, right? So learning from the past experiences of what has happened in commerce and industry on a global level because of lack of diversity and lack of inclusion, I think there is a great opportunity that the current and future technologies like blockchain, Web3 have to make sure that we don't repeat the mistakes of the past. And right from the very beginning, we are able to make sure that there is a fair representation of women across all levels. Well, there are some unique challenges, and those challenges are not specific to the industry as such, right? But there could be socioeconomic challenges in different countries. But there's definitely a deeply ingrained gender bias and stereotyping that exists, right? And especially in scenarios where you can already see that even though in the bottom rungs, there is a good 25-26% representation of women, but as you climb up the ladder, when you reach the leadership positions, there is only 6% representation, which means out of 100 CEOs or the 100 founders, the leaders of the blockchain and the crypto industry, only 6 are women, 94 are men, are males, right? And what happens in these kind of scenarios is that there is an ingrained gender bias that can happen, right? Unless we are very careful about it or conscious about it. And how this bias operates is that access to funding or investment opportunities can get limited for women founders, for female founders, right? It's just in the back of mind, but that's exactly how it plays out. And every single opportunity that we have to correct that bias, and we do not correct it, it keeps adding on. Also, there is a lack of female role models and mentors, because if all the senior positions are taken by males, then even the women who are in the bottom rungs of the industry, they do not have any female role models or mentors to kind of help them in their professional growth. So that is the another way in which this gender bias and the stereotyping plays out. So, and of course, I mean, we can't generalize it. In some countries, these kind of biases are more prevalent. In some countries, these biases are not so prevalent. So, for example, in a developed Asian economy like Singapore, etc., you might not see this as much. You might probably see these kind of male-oriented biases, perhaps more in a country like India or in some African countries, perhaps. So we can't generalize it. But typically what happens is that because of this lack of representation, especially at the senior level, it restricts the women's access to education, technology, professional networks, and you know how important networking is in an industry like this. Yeah, so we need to address all these ramifications that happen because of lack of gender diversity. So there are two questions, and I'll handle them separately. The fact that it is online, or the fact that it is technology oriented, is actually good for women. And I've always said that actually the STEM fields are actually better for women, because uh, in terms of physical presence, or in terms of physical strength, might be there is a difference in two genders, maybe, right? However, when it comes to mental acuity, and when it comes to the kind of coding that anybody can do, or the kind of solutioning that anybody can do, I think there is absolutely no difference between two genders. So frankly, the fact that this industry is backed by technology is actually a great thing for fair women representation. I totally believe in that. Coming to the second part, where your question is that whose responsibility is this? Is the responsibility of males, or is this the responsibility of females? I would say that it is obviously a responsibility for both. I don't think it's equal, and I'll tell you why I don't think so. Is obviously, let's say, if there is male leadership who wants to support and who wants to kind of promote the cause of fair gender representation, but there are not enough women to work in the industry, or to kind of get promoted, then obviously there is a problem there. And at the same time, I think it is clear that given the extreme bias that we have in terms of presence of males, especially in the senior decision making roles, I think it is very, very obvious that they will need to take a step. They will need to take an extra step to make sure that they're opening all doors for getting as many women, and as many, just making sure that in their own companies, or in their own cap tables, there is a fair representation of women. And I think they have to do this consciously. At Web3preneur, we believe that achieving gender equality in this industry is an active participation of men. I mean, it is not something which is like a female agenda or anything. It's not like that. We do require active participation of men in this as well. Males can support by by helping more women's initiatives, by kind of creating more diversity in their own companies, by mentoring female colleagues, by making sure that if they're curating any speaker panels, there's always a representation of women, or if there are any networking opportunities that that women are able to access those networking opportunities as well. So there are many things that the male representation can do at this time in the industry, and I would think that the onus should definitely be taken by them. So Web3preneur is the brainchild of Jagdish Pandya, JP as we call him. He's the founder of Web3preneur. Women Web3preneur is a vertical that we have created within Web3preneur. And he comes from a very robust background of technology and entrepreneurship for last, more than 2 decades, right? He's been in the field, and he has extensive experience in both blockchain sector and in gender advocacy, right? So he has, in his career, he has seen the D&I evolve as well. Now, with a deep understanding, with his understanding of the hurdles that women face in tech, right from the very beginning, he made sure that there is a special vertical that has been created within Web3preneur. So, we have a very special focus for everything that we do. We make sure that there is a women representation when he is looking at investment opportunities in various kinds of ventures that he supports and that he invests in. He always makes sure that there is, an empowerment that he's doing by supporting female founders as well. We have created a community for women in blockchain, wherein there are lots of education opportunities, networking opportunities, mentoring opportunities. So I think it's from his vision of ensuring that we are creating this balance right from the very beginning. It's not like we wait to achieve a certain growth and then we create this. It's not a flag that we wave, right? It is something which is deeply ingrained in the DNA of how Web3preneur works. Well, for most of us, the learning comes from what we have seen happening with the gender equality in Web2 industries, right? And most of us have started our careers in Web2, right? I mean, 20 years back, 25 years back. And we could see that, it required a very special effort to make sure that women are entering those technology fields aggressively, right? And that they are not taking a backseat or otherwise, what would happen is that you miss out on 50% of the economic value creators, right? And that's a huge hole right in the beginning. And I think any visionary leader would see that is a terrible leakage of talent and of value, right? So and we could see that when professional coding started, and when a lot of these back operations started, it required special efforts. Companies had to hire special leadership positions to make sure that they are working on getting more and more women into STEM fields. I myself have been a part of many initiatives that work with women in tier 2 and tier 3 cities in India, to make sure that they're aware of the careers in STEM fields, and they don't think that these are the kind of industries that they don't have access to, right? So for us, the trigger point has been what we have seen happening in Web2. And what we are trying to do is to make sure that Web3 does not have to go through that learning cycle all over again. So we try and do it right from day one, right from day zero. We make sure that not just at lower rungs, but also at middle and senior rungs, we have enough women representation possible. And that is only possible when you actively look at it. When you're looking at your team charts, for example, and make sure that there's enough representation of women at all levels. When you're looking at your cap tables, you're making sure that there are enough women founders, women investors. In your networking events, that there is a fair representation of women. In every single thing, you have to see and ensure that. I think from what I see, Web3 is already doing better in terms of female representation, but only in the entry-level positions. I think there is a big gap in middle and in senior level positions that Web3 still needs to address, and probably in those levels, today Web2 is doing better than Web3. But we have to make sure that we provide enough education opportunities, mentoring opportunities, that we are, kind of supporting all these women to be able to grow their careers in Web3 and reach leadership positions. Well, I think if we start breaking it down by departments or functions, I think the talent is equal, right? I mean, it's not like one half of the species is good in something and one half is not. It's not like that. I think it is more a factor of years of experience, or is it an entry-level position or a middle-level position or a senior-level position. So, yes, you will see a lot of women in business development roles, or even in coding and other tech-related roles. But you will find that they're mostly in the lower and the middle rounds, right? And as you start moving towards the senior roles, it kind of drops. And that is the real challenge that we have to address. If we can address that, then everything else will be taken care of. Yeah, that happens in any growing industry, but I'm very optimistic that in terms of gender representation, Web3 will definitely score better than Web2. Well, the biggest challenge is not to have access to same level of opportunities and support. That is really the basic challenge, right? So when it comes to any kind of educational initiatives, funding, like I said, access to banking, access to funds, access to investment, access to just be able to reach to the right investors, right? All that would be restricted, right? And again, I am making a very general statement. It is not true for every country or every company, but this is what most of the times women end up facing, right? And why it happens is because of this old boys club kind of thinking that kind of goes on, and important discussions will happen on a table where there is no women representation. So it starts from that, and people in the leadership positions, people in the important decision-making positions, if they do not make sure that there is women representation at that level itself, it kind of percolates down, right? It percolates down because this kind of seeps into everything. In terms of empowering them, to not just enter into these kind of industries, but to grow. Those kind of opportunities get restricted. So those are really some of the challenges, and there's no reason for this gatekeeping. And maybe sometimes it happens unintentionally, right? And maybe it just happens just like that, right? But that is what we are talking about, that we have to take a pause and be very conscious that we are not excluding women from important discussions, from important opportunities, from important speaker panels, from important access to investors and things like that. Because it is a social construct and it is a socio-economic bias, right? So yes, definitely it differs from country. Even within India, I mean, India is a huge country. Within India, you will see a different pattern in the big cities, which operate pretty much like any other cosmopolitan developed economies, versus the tier 2 and tier 3 towns, right? So there is definitely a difference that exists. And yes, we can attribute it to social conditioning or even to the socio-economic factors that exist. Starts with lack of education. For example. I mean, technical education might be less accessible to women because of many factors, because of scarcity of such educational institutions, or because of financially they're not being available to as many women students. There could be many reasons. It's a complex situation. It starts from the access to learning, development, education, and then to professional entry, professional growth. It kind of goes on through the chain. I'm not surprised at all. I mean, look at Asian countries. Look at countries like any country that you name, India, Bangladesh, Pakistan, any country that you name, they've already had female presidents and prime ministers, right? And look at US. I mean, looking at their first female president only now, right? So I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised by that. Why that happens? I think again, it's because of this, this closely guarded club that has been made by, gentlemen, right? I think it happens because of that. In Asia, the growth has been more even. It has been, in terms of growth, we might be lower in terms of numbers than the European and the Western counterparts. However, the growth has been more equitable, even if slow, right? And I think that's what creates a difference. And it's such a difficult thing to break the glass ceiling, whereas in India and in other Asian countries, you already see the kind of groundbreaking work that women founders have already done. So this statement is not surprising for me at all. So you can see we are leading by example. Like I mentioned to you, the founder of Web3preneur is a male, right? But he ensured that right from day one, this is ingrained in the daily working of how the company operates. So there is a special focus. There is a women.web3preneur special vertical that he created right from day one. And again, like I said, it was not because of any badge that he wants to wear or anything. It is just because from his experience, he knows that we cannot overlook this extremely important value creating talent of that is available, right? So it was in that sense a strategic decision as well. And of course, there are many roles that males can play in whatever companies they are or whatever roles that they are playing, wherever they are. They can contribute by supporting women's initiatives, advocating for diversity in whatever they do, right? If they're, like I said, if they're curating a networking event, if they're looking at founders to invest in, or if they're looking at speaking positions, there are many ways in which they can always be very conscious of making sure that there is a women representation. At Web3preneur, we really encourage men to be allies, right? I mean, we work hand in hand. It is not really man versus woman sort of a thing. It really is something that, here is one part of talent. If you ignore them, if you miss out on them, it's your loss, right? You're creating that leakage. So it's something which is ingrained in every person who works at Web3preneur. That we are partners for the mission that we have, right? And by working together, we can actually create a more balanced and equitable, fair industry, right? it's because of the position that males have today. They can actually help break the biases. So if there is an ingrained bias because of the male, over representation in the industry, it's only them who can then break that bias, right? So they can dismantle those biases. They can promote for fair practices, right? They, in whatever they do, they can promote fair practices, and they can actually create more opportunities for women to progress through this professional journey. Yeah. I'm personally proud to say that that our teams are actually heavily females, right? I'm happy to say that, and there is a range of initiatives that we have designed to support and empower women in the blockchain industry wherever we work, and we work across different markets, right from Malaysia to Thailand to Korea to Dubai to India, and there are various markets that we handle, and in every single place we have initiatives which are running to actually support women in this industry, in the Web3 world. So these include not just networking opportunities, first of all, which means that we open doors and we make sure, we kind of work harder towards getting more women into those networking opportunities. That's the first thing that we do. Then we run educational workshops, we run webinars to enhance their technical skills, knowledge needed to succeed in blockchain. We regularly do those kind of things. Then we also run mentorship programs, right, which basically connect women with experienced professionals. So very regularly, we will highlight senior members of the blockchain world from anywhere in the world, right? And how it helps is that the women have somebody to look up to. They can hear their stories, they can reach out for their support, they can reach out for their inputs. So there is an ongoing emphasis on making sure that all the women are able to see and we take the onus to shine a light on those senior professionals who are there in the Web3 and blockchain industry. And what we're trying to do is, without being very, it's not something that we do just to kind of wave a flag, right? I mean, it's not something we do for that, but to actually create real platforms and real opportunities for women to progress. That's what Webtrepreneur is trying. So it doesn't just mean a badge. It's not just something, it's not like a 1% CSR activity. It's not like that. It's a part of the mainstream. I think it holds great promise. I really believe so because of the ingrained properties of blockchain. It is definitely something which favors women, right? For example, it can offer greater financial inclusion by providing access to all financial services. Everything is equally available to everyone. So that access becomes available. So even if you are in unbanked sectors or underbanked sectors, for example, there is still an opportunity equally available for men and women to have access to that financial inclusion. Of course, there's transparency and security in transactions. That is important, irrespective of gender. That is definitely there. But it is even more important because it kind of protects and supports women's financial rights equally, right? So I feel the technology is extremely well placed to favor women in that sense, right? And when I say favor women, it is only by favoring women will we be able to create the gender equality, because right now it is tipped in favor of males, right? So we need that. Additionally, it can also create secure digital identities, which again can be a very important thing for women, right? It can help them access any kind of services and opportunities which were beyond their reach earlier, either because of physical the physical distance or because of lack of security or things like that. So that way, again, it creates a more level field. It can facilitate new economic opportunities. We've already seen some use cases in DeFi and peer-to-peer transactions, right? So it in many ways, it creates a level field because of the nature of how blockchain works. So it actually empowers women to be more participative in the global economy than any Web 2 or Web 1 technology ever did. So I feel that by leveraging blockchain, we can definitely help build a more inclusive future for women everywhere. Yes, exactly. Yeah, that's exactly what I meant. That there is no reason for bringing these aspects. There is the digital identity do not need that, and like you rightly said, I mean. If there is an hierarchy, for example, if there is an hierarchy, then people at the top of hierarchy can gatekeep. But if there is no hierarchy and if it is decentralized, then there is no gatekeeping, which in itself is a great thing for gender equality. Yeah, I have I yeah I always would like to leave this special message for young women everywhere, that the kind of opportunities that exist today because of the kind of technological revolution that humanity has seen, it is an unmatched opportunity for women to get the same kind of economic financial growth that unfortunately remained elusive for us for many years earlier. And we should definitely take full advantage of this. So that is always my message to young women who are looking at their career choices, who are looking at their career opportunities as we move forward. And to all the males, I would say, either at any level and any kind of initiative that you're in. Uh, I'm not saying this because I'm a woman. All I'm saying is that be strategic about it. If you know that there are two parts of a team and both parts of the team bring complementary skills to the table, would you like to leave one part of the team out? And the answer is no. Any visionary leader will tell you that, right? So I know that sometimes our social upbringing can create these unintentional biases in our mind, but my request to males would always be to question every opportunity that they get to see that if the other part of the team is fairly represented or not. Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. Thank you.